Okay, the topic of today for discussion is diagnostic cytopathology, or better to say diagnostic cytology. So, what is cytology or what is cytopathology? In simple cytology, you study the different structure of cell, as normal cell, and it is a basic science. Cytology is a basic science. But when you study cytopathology, it is important that you must have a very sound knowledge of this basic science cytology. Only thereafter you can understand this technique of diagnosis, that is cytopathology. Say for example, in this case, you obtain cell from the body for any diagnosis purpose, and that cell has to be properly smeared, stained, and interpretation under the microscope. So unless you know what is the normal feature of the cell, how can you know it is abnormal or there is some alteration, so that you can say that the cell is having some abnormal morphology, the patient is having some disease condition. So unless you don't know the normal morphology, it is almost difficult for diagnosis through this process, through this procedure that is called as diagnostic cytology. The foremost important for this topic is that you should have a very basic knowledge of cell cytology. Second thing is that this topic is highly practical oriented, and it needs demonstration and your practice too. But before that, you must have a sound knowledge of its theoretical part, and therefore today we will deal with theoretical part of this, and when we will meet in the classroom, I will demonstrate you and you will revise it and practice it accordingly. So today in my topic, I will deal with introduction with this cytopathology, its application in veterinary science, the different techniques for diagnostic cytopathology, and the process of smear formation, fixation of the smear, different staining methods, and finally how to interpret the abnormal cells. So first of all, you can see a photograph of a scientist. He is Dr. George N. Papanicolaou. He is the pioneer in the field of explorative cytology, and he has also popularized this technique in India also. And he is being remembered for his early diagnosis of cancer by a very simple technique that we call as explorative cytology. So this is Papanicolaou, and on his name there is also a staining technique that is called as Papanicolaou staining technique. That I will deal later. So how can you define this cytopathology? It is a branch of pathology. It is simply a branch of pathology where we study and diagnose disease at cellular level. So if you remember a different term, that is histopathology, that you usually see in our laboratory. Histopathology is quite different from this. In histopathology, we study disease at tissue level, at organ level. But in this case, you study the cell at individual cell level or at a group of cell level. So it is quite different from histopathology. In histopathology, the under study is the tissue, and in cytopathology, under study is the cell or a group of cells. It can also be explained like this, that the interpretation of cells that has either been exfoliated spontaneously or obtained from various by different clinical methods. What is this? This is that you know that the cells, after having their work and completion of their maturity, they usually exfoliate from their uh, mucosal epithelial surface, and newly cells are being formed, what is called as physiological turnover. So it is a normal process that different cells are being exfoliated from the epithelial surface of the mucous membrane. In this case, in diagnostic cytopathology, this exfoliation is slightly increased, exaggerated. Why? Why? Because due to less cohesive force between the cells. Usually the cells are tightly bound with each other by help of cohesion forces. Under the effect of calcium, calcium is needed for binding of the cells, normal binding of the cells. In case of malignancies, there is deficiency of calcium, and therefore this binding cohesion force between the cells decreases, and therefore exfoliation or shedding off of the cells are increased, highly increased. And we obtain these exfoliated cells from the different orifices, like in the fecal material, like in the urine, like in the milk, like in the sputum. You can get these exfoliated cells. Sometimes it is required to obtain these cells by some clinical method. Say, for example, by swabbing, by scraping, by washing, even by using fine needles. So anyhow, uh, you have to obtain those cells which can be easily get from the secretions, excretions, or by some simple clinical procedure where the exploited cells can be obtained and can be used for interpretation of the disease. One thing you note here that these exploited cells explain the story of the part of that organ from where these cells have been coming. What I mean to say, if I collect urine sample and centrifuge it for getting concentrated cell volume, and I am doing cytopathology on that cell. So how can I say from where is the disease in whole urinary tract? It may be from the kidney, that is nephrons. It may be from the ureter. It may be from the bladder. So how can you say that from where these cells have come? So therefore, it is essential that you must know the normal cytological feature of different cells of this urinary tract. Uh, Nephrons have different type of epithelial cells. Urinary bladder have different type of epithelial cells. These ureters have different types of epithelial cells. Urethra have different type of epithelial cells. So once you collect these cells, first you must know from there these cells have been coming. And if you can know from where these cells have been coming, by only by examination those particular collected cells, you can say there is damage in that particular part. Say for the nephrons, say for the urinary bladder, say for the ureter, or so for the urethra. So these are representative. These exploited cells represent the cells from where they are coming, and so accordingly you can manage your treatment procedure. So, what is the rationale of cytotechnic, or what is the principle of cytotechnic, or how can you justify this cytopathology? So, most important is this. In this case, the specimen, the whole disease is presented in a simple collection of cells. Only a simple collection of cells is used for interpretation of the disease. So it is the basic principles of the cytotechnic. Other than this, the justification for the cytopathology is that, as as I was telling that the physiology of these epithelial cells gives you a rough idea of the ongoing disease process on that cells. Therefore, these exploited cells must be analyzed properly for the quantitatively and qualitatively both in quantitative type and both in qualitative type. So this is the basic principle of cytotechnic, that the cell represent the whole part for interpretation and diagnosis of the disease, and therefore quantitative and qualitative uh, studies at most necessary.
सब वॉल्यूम म्यूट कर लेने, बैकग्राउंड से आवाज आ रही है।
So those
सर आप ही म्यूट कर दीजिए
okay.
सबका।
So for doing this histopathology, cytopathology, we will need certain materials, certain instruments, and that is very simple. It is very cost effective. Very less instrument, very less materials are needed. So you need slides, clean, grease-free and smooth slides. And second thing, you need some instrument by which you can collect these exfoliated cells. Maybe wooden spatula, maybe metal spatula, and nowadays you are using advanced technique by using cytobrush. It is not simple brushing; it is cytobrushing. Accordingly, you can use toothbrush. So there can be any sort of instrument that can be used for collecting the exfoliated cells. After the collection of the cells, they need to be fixed. So you need fixatives. Fixatives are usually alcohol in nature, and you need foam where you can prepare the report, and you also need a slide marking pencil so that you can properly label your slide. So these are simple advantages in cytopathology. There is also some disadvantages. So what is the main advantage? It is very simple. It requires minimum skill. When I tell you minimum skill, don't confuse that it can be done by any person. It needs skill, but not very much. Very simple skill, but it needs skill. Why skill is necessary? Because therefore, it is also called that the practice for diagnostic cytopathology needs proper training of the laboratory personnel. Why? Because the accuracy of cytological examination greatly depends on the quality of collection, collecting the exfoliated cells, their preparation of the slides, staining of the slides, and finally interpretation of the material. So you don't need very much to be skilled, but you have to be skilled in at least in collection, preparation, and staining of the slide. Second advantage is that it is very rapid test. You can get result within minutes, within hours. In contrast to histopathology, where conventional histopathological techniques take about 7 days, 6 to 7 days. But in this case, you can give report within minutes or within hour. And as I have told you, the instrument needed is very less. No more expert personnel are required, so it is very cost effective. And also, you can see that during collection of sample, there is no or minimum injury. In case of exfoliated cells in the urine sputum, there is almost no injury. In case of some aspiration or interventional cytology, there can be some minimum injury. So usually in exfoliated cytology, there is no injury, but in case of some interventional or aspirational cytology, there can be minimum injury. But at the same time, the disadvantages are that your whole interpretation is based only on the some cells that you are collecting during uh, exfoliated cells. So on the basis of these few cells, you are going to give your whole interpretation. So that there is chances that there can be false negative. There is chances that there can be false negative result. So this is one of the major disadvantages. Second is most important. It is not a final diagnosis. So what I mean to say, it is just an adjunct to the disease diagnosis. You cannot use it as a final diagnosis. It is an aid to the final diagnosis. You have to do some other diagnostic technique for final diagnosis. So that is to say, that is why it is usually said that histopathology should not be compared to cytopathology, because histopathology give a confirmatory diagnosis, but in cytopathology you are getting a tentative diagnosis, but within a minute, within a very rapid time. So its importance is that cytopathology is usually done, particularly in case of early diagnosis of malignancy, neoplasm, tumor. So this is advantage, and these are the disadvantages. Third thing, uh, third disadvantage is it cannot determine the size and type of lesions in some cases. So if you are getting a cell which is having some abnormal morphology, how can you say the extent of damage in that particular organ? You can only say that there is damage in that organ, but the extent of damage cannot be determined by sampling few cells. So these are some disadvantages. Next is, so as I was telling, you should always remember cytopathology should not be compared to histopathology. Cytopathology is always a adjunct to diagnosis, and histopathology gives you the final diagnosis. Also, one thing you should note that in cytopathology, it is less sensitive since you are getting minimum samples, and your diagnosis is usually less sensitive, and there is risk of contamination also while you are swabbing or brushing some part. If that instrument is not properly disinfected or sterilized, there is chance of uh, contamination also. So these are some advantages and disadvantages. Overall, the different applications of diagnostic cytology is cytogenetics, that is to study the chromosomes of the cell. Therefore, it can also be used in a study of the cell, can also give information about the sex and the age of the uh, patient by only studying of the cell. Even you know that bar bodies, presence of bar bodies in some cells, so it can be used in also for the study of bar bodies. So in genetics, it has its application. Most important is early diagnosis of the benign neoplasm. It also helps in diagnosis and management of cancer. The sample that you collect can be can be normal, it can be abnormal, and abnormality can be in the term of tumor, it can be in the term of inflammatory. Diagnosis therefore should be made that it is inflammatory or it is non neoplastic or it is non neoplastic. It also helps in diagnosis of specific infections like bacterial, fungus, certain hormonal imbalance. It also helps to follow up the disease progress. It also helps to follow up the improvement in the disease process during treatment. Uh, as I was saying, that it is helpful in also in diagnosis of certain specific infections like bacterial, viral, protozoal, fungal. So these are some of the important applications of cytology. So what you need to do in cytopathology, first you have to collect sample, then you have to prepare smear, then you have to fix it, stain it, and finally observe under the microscope for the interpretation. So one by one, we will study how sample is collected. So what can be your sample? As I was telling you, samples can be exfoliated cells, aspirated cells, and body fluids. Three important uh, way by you can collect the samples is exfoliated cells, aspirated cells, and body fluids. At this time, you know these exfoliated cells. What is aspirated cells? That are being collected by some interventional method, by using some needle, by some clinical procedure. When you collect cells, it is called as aspirated cells. And other is the body fluids like peritoneal fluid, CSF, pleural fluids. Uh, so basically your samples of these three types. So the samples can be collected by scraping, it can be sputum, it can be collected by washing, it can be collected by lavage, it can be collected by catheterization. Accordingly, it can be different fluids, it can be CSF, and many more. This type of samples can be collected. So once you collect the sample, it cannot be directly used for doing staining and interpretation. Sometimes it needs to be processed. Say for example, if you are collecting sputum, you can directly make smear. But when you are collecting fluid in amount about 50 to 100 ml, you need it to centrifuge to get the your necessary cells. So when the fluid is of moderate amount, you have to centrifuge it. And if the cell is very your volume is very minimum, the collection of this fluid is very minimum, then you have to use cytocentrifuge. Centrifuge is a simple technique that you usually see, but cytocentrifuge is a advanced technique, and this centrifuge is also an advanced machine. And if the sample is very much, and the cells are very few, then at this time you have to do it filter using millipore filter. And nowadays, an advanced technique for immunocytochemistry is that you are making cell block. Similarly, as that you see in histopathology, where you make paraffin block, here cell blocks are being made. So, in the branches of cytopathology or the different techniques of cytopathology are grouped into. First is exfoliative cytology. It is very old branch where you study the shed of cells, and the basis is the alteration in morphology and less cohesiveness of the cells, as I have told you. And the second is the aspirational cytology or interventional cytology, where the samples are collected by some surgeons by some clinical procedures, where the cells are being aspirated, where the cells are not being exfoliated but need to be aspirated. So at that time, interventional cytology is needed. So what is exfoliative cytology? So as it is written, it is the study of cells that has been set, that has been fallen off, or may need to remove by swabbing, by washing, by smearing, by scraping, by brushing from the mucous membrane of different epithelial surfaces. Okay, so what is this? This is a microscopic examination of those de-spermated cells from the epithelial surface of mucous membrane. It can be also sputum. It can also be saliva like samples from where explorative cytology is done. And remember, this is a bloodless type, and there are different advantages and disadvantages of explorative cytology that I have told you earlier. I have told you. One thing you also note here that explorative cytology is must be done in those cases where biopsy is contraindicated. Say, for example, in case of hemangioma. In hemangioma, you cannot do biopsy. So only technique with you is the explorative cytology. And accordingly, in case of multiple neurofibrosis, you cannot do biopsy. So you have only to do explorative cytology. Okay. So what is the importance of explorative cytology? So very simple. It helps in early detection of. It helps in very early detection of any dysplastic changes or neoplastic changes in the cells. So, always when you are doing explorative cytology, you should always apply some appropriate measure for the collection of cell. And when you have studied the changes, abnormal morphology, it helps the clinician to formulate some appropriate measure for getting control of that disease condition. After exploratory cytology, it immediately helps the clinicians to formulate some appropriate measure for the patient, but finally you have to do some confirmatory diagnosis by help of other techniques. So simply explorative cytology is collection of exploited cells from the body and a study under my microscope. These sample can be obtained by washing, by scraping, by brushing. It may be saliva, it may be sputum. So it is explorative cytology. Next is aspirational cytology or interventional cytology. Here, as I was telling, some clinical procedure is required, some surgical intervention is required, and in this procedure, usually fine needle aspiration cytology, biopsy, imprint cytology, and cross smear cytology is done. Four important. There can be more other, but these four are usually important: FNAC, biopsy, imprint cytology, and cross smear cytology. So first of all, you will deal with imprint cytology. What is this? What do you mean by imprint cytology? In imprint cytology, you have to excise the lesion. You have to cut the lesions, and at that cut surface, you have to simply touch your slide and remove your slide to make a proper smear and staining. It is nothing but it is a touch preparation. Imprint cytology is an impression cytology. It is a touch preparation. Second is cross smear cytology. In this case, the sample after collection, it usually contains a mass of cells. A huge number of cells are there. So it is needed to be crushed so that a monolayer cytological feature can be obtained. If you will not crush, it will be multi-layer and there will be no clear view of the cells. So to obtain monolayer, the smear is needed to be crushed. We will deal FNAC in slightly more detail. And biopsy, the fourth is biopsy. So what is biopsy? It is simply examination of cell, either under microscope or under by some chemical procedure, but the cells must be taken from a living individual. So you can define biopsy that it is the microscopic examination of cell that is obtained from a living individual. And for detail of biopsy, when you will study histopathology, you will study biopsy. I mean to say the whole procedure of histopathology give you clear picture of the biopsy. So some other person will teach you histopathology And at that time you will be well acquainted with the biopsy. At this time I will slightly elaborate the FNAC technique. So what is FNAC? It is fine needle aspiration cytology. So, as you know, in interventional cytology, there are certain disadvantages also. So, when you are using needle, there can be hematomas, infection. There can be very minimum cells in comparison to explorative cytology. First of all, you understand what is imprint cytology with this diagram. Here is here is an example of a lymph node. So, what he has done, he has cut it into two halves. The lymph node has been cut into two halves. This is one half of the lymph node. Here you are touching your slide. You are simply touching your slide. You are touching your slide on the whole surface of the cut edge of the lymph node, and afterward you have to lift your slide, and it will contain the cells for interpretation. Next is crush smear. Here you can see the mass of the cell is more, so you have to crush it. Using another slide, you have to slightly crush it. You don't need to crush it very violently. There should be a gentle crushing is needed. And finally, FNAC, that is most important. So in FNAC is usually done for palpable mass and non-palpable mass, such as those palpable mass like lymph nodes, breast, thyroid, salivary gland, bones, null palpable mass like abdominal cavity, thoracic cavity, retroperitoneum. Any lesions in this can be also collected by FNAC. So this diagram tells you about the aspiration techniques. क्या करना है आपको यहाँ पे? First of all, fix the lesion by your hand. You palpate the lesion, fix that lesion using your fingers, and once you have located the lesion, sometimes it is guided also. FNAC can be also guided by help of some radiology, say for example X-ray or ultrasound, where you can guide the lesions. And if it is very palpable, you can usually guide it by palpating it and fixing it by your fingers over the lesion from where you are going to correct the cell. So once you have fixed the lesion, you use the needle. This needle should be about 22-24 gauge needle, and the syringe should be about 10 ml in capacity. So insert the needle in the lesion. Take care that the needle should go in the required lesion. No, it should not go like this or like this, where there is no any exploited cells or your cells of interest. So be sure that your needle is going to be inserted in the lesions from where you want to get the cells. And then you slightly remove your needle side by side, side by side. But before that, you apply a suction pressure. Your plunge of the syringe should be removed backward so that there can be negative pressure created in this area. Okay. And then when you want to collect, you leave the suction pressure. You leave the air, this space you see, this is a great space, and here is a small space. So what you are doing, you are releasing the negative pressure before withdrawal of the needle. When you are trying to withdraw the needle, you have to release the negative pressure. Why? अगर आप release नहीं करेंगे, तो at the time this needle is going outward, it will collect some blood also from this dermis area or this skin area. So along with these cells, due to negative pressure, while taking out of the needle, it will also collect blood, and your sample will be mixed with blood, which is not good. Your sample should not be mixed with blood. So you have to release the negative pressure before removing the needle from the collecting lesions. And afterward, you remove the needle, detach the needle from the syringe, and use this needle only for getting the sample. You take this sample on a slide. So this is how you can take sample from a palpable mass. So sometimes you can get unsatisfactory yield when you are missing the target. This is your target, your needle should be here. If you miss the target, your needle may go away from the target. Second is that you can collect some necrotic mass from the middle of the lesions. So a necrotic cell is not going to give you any suggestion. And hemorrhagic mass from the diagnostic material. So avoid using this. Third is main lesion is this, and you are getting sample from this. So you are misdiagnosing. A small malignant lesion nearby a dominant lesion may be overlooked. And if the lesion is very hard, very fibrotic, you may not get proper number of cells in this case. So these are some limitations of FMSE. Now, how to make a smear? You know how to make a smear. So at this time, streaking, spreading, pull apart, or touch or impression smear slightly in brief. So what is streaking? Once you collect the sample by swabbing or brushing, take a slide and simply go on streaking like this. Simply go on streaking like this on the slide. So it is very simple. And it is usually used for vaginal secretion, sputum, and gastric contents. Next is spreading. So when the sample is thick and mucoid, you need it to be sprayed by some needle-like instrument. But this spreading should be very gentle and in a rolling fashion. It should be in a rolling fashion so that the samples should not be get distorted. Pull apart. So in the diagram you can see how to pull apart. You just, this is the sample, you keep second slide over it, slide it one over over the other, and then remove your both the slides. So you will get sample on both the slides, in this slide also and this slide also. So accordingly this type of smear you can get by using pull apart technique. And next is touch impression. That is no very simple. You have to touch the lesion by your slide and you will get the exploited cells. And what is a squash smear preparation? It is slightly different. Here the collected tissue is broken into small pieces. Before being smeared, it is being broken into small pieces. So that is called as a squash smear preparation. So in this diagram, you can see a simple touch preparation. You have taken this sample, kept over the slide, touched only, and removed the sample. So there will be impression. This is called as touch preparation or imprint cytology. This is a squash preparation. As I was telling, the tissue has to be tear out by putting some pressure. When sample is, the mass is more big. So you have to squash this. This is simple smear preparation as you are doing in blood smear preparation, blood smear. What we are doing in our lab, it is very conventional type of smear. Nowadays, a latest advanced technique is done by for preparation of the slide, and that is called as thin prep slide. Conventional smear we are doing in our lab. This is a different instrument where the smear is very thin and a monolayer smear you can get by this technique, thin prepare slide. You can see the difference. In a conventional sphere, your microscopic view is appearing like this. But in thin prep slide, you can see this monolayer appearance and every cell are being visualized very clear. And there is, and here you see that overlapping of the cells is there. So this is a new technique, thin prep slide, where you can get a very good view of the sample. And it is the latest technique for making cell block, usually used for immunohistochemistry. The sample is being centrifuged and this sediment is converted into a cell block, similar to paraffin block. So after you have made the smear, you have to fix it. So at the time you are making the smear, it will immediately start fixing by air. So fixing, why it should be fixed? It should be fixed to prevent any degeneration of the cells and tissue. It should be preserve the cell as close as to the possible of the living state. You did not need to be more degenerated so that any information will be lost. So fixation is done as early as possible. And this fixation can be any fixative you are using should have good penetration power, should have minimum cell shrinkage, should maintain the morphological integrity of the cells, and it should deactivate the enzyme so that autolysis can be stopped. These are some features of good fixatives. Uh, how to fix? Fixation can be done by air dried, simply air dried. You are not using any chemical. And if you are doing air dry fixation, then the stain will be Ramanowski type of stain. And sometimes it is weight fixed. What is weight fixed? It is alcohol fixed. When you are fixing it by some alcohol, it is called as weight fixed. and at this time you have to stain it either with Papa Nicola or HND. So remember, wait